Welcome, everybody, to the number one Group of Five college football podcast in the world. This is the Group of Five guys, and our mission is to be the voice for the Group of Five football programs, the voice that the mainstream sports media absolutely refuses to be. We need your help to do that. We need you to follow us on all the social media platforms at Group of Five guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcast. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a 5-star rating and a review. Most importantly, share it with your family and friends. On this episode of Inside Drill, super excited to get a guest that a lot of you wanted us to get on. So we welcome brand new Central Michigan head coach Matt Drinkall to the show. All right, guys, we've got a highly requested guest as soon as he took this job. So we can't wait for this conversation. We got brand new Central Michigan head coach Matt Drinkall joining Group of Five guys on Inside Drill. Coach, thank you, sir, for coming on.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Well, Coach, we were talking a little bit before the show, and we got to get right into it. You lost a bunch of weight. What have you done? What'd you do? How can I do it?
So I lost 41 pounds as of right now from the start of the season without taking a single step of cardio, from basically just stopping eating poison and putting poison in my body. So I have subscribed all into the getting healthy and the microplastics and additives and everything that can go in all the food. So now, now that we're settled up here, my wife and I were excited to, find a farmer that we can buy half a cow from, because that thing was alive. That guy killed it, and now I'm eating it, and there was nobody touched it in between. So a lot of that stuff. So I'm actually eating way more than I've ever eaten before. I'm eating less stuff that's really, really bad for you. So I've gotten way better educating myself on what is actually bad for me. I used to shop as uninformed as you could, where it's, oh, this says fat free or low in sugar, and oh, this says healthy Atkins snack. This has to be good for me, which, I just poisoned myself for 40 years. So
no more Mountain Dews then, huh?
Nah, man, that was hard to give up. Like, anybody who's spent any time around me, I'm not kidding. I was drinking probably 6 to 8 diet 20-ounce diet Mountain Dews a day, and I don't drink any coffee. So that was like that was my thing. But man, I just, you look at a picture of myself and I just looked like I was always stung by bees. I was always just kind of like fat and chubby and shiny, but you don't like realize you're fat. You're just like, you're like swollen. Like when they find a dead body in the river after like 3 days, I just always looked like that. So, that was a major concern. So I've been trying to right that ship here a little bit. So
well, what was like the wake up call? Did you just look in the mirror one day and say, I'm sick of this, or what?
No, I started I got really, really sick this summer, and like with a cold, it started out as, and after like 4 days, I was like, the stuffiness had gone away, but I was shivering really bad, and I was sweating uncontrollably and like cotton mouth, and I couldn't figure out what it was. So finally it was like the 8th day of it, and I was like, I can't shake this. I went in and I was having caffeine withdrawals. And they were just like, you got to wait this out, dude. And I was just like, all right, am I tough enough to actually do this? Like, this is a problem for me. So I made it to day 11, and then something just completely switched in my body to where now if I look at soda or pop, it looks to me like syrup. Like I might as well just be drinking like how syrup has always looked to me. So then if you get yourself steered, a little frustrating to me at 42, I guess, but it is very cool now. But like, you get steered on the right podcast or the right YouTube channel for an hour and a half, I can learn more than I probably learned in 12 years of public education, which is unfortunate to say. So you really start to, be able to pool and make a little bit better choices and decisions and more informed. So now I basically think everything and everyone is out to get you, and somebody's trying to gain an edge and make money off of you, and they don't care what happens to you. So you better take responsibility for yourself a little bit. So I was telling you guys, like, I checked, I use this app called Yuka. I scan everything now, all my cosmetics. So I got to my shampoo that was poisoning my hairline for the last forever. I got to it a little too late. I had that Charlie Brown, Homer Simpson, about 7 hairs left on my head. So decided it was time to part ways with those.
Well, I got one more question on this for me is do you have like a favorite, I hate to say influencer that you respect on this kind of stuff? Are you a big Liver King guy or what?
Oh no. That's a good question. Like truthfully, Twitter has been really good just because you get to hear like, not the ad ones where people are like, I was a kines major. I wish I had spent more time on the nutrition and dietitian side of it, knowing like how much that impacts you over the course of your life. But I was not a very forward thinker at 20. Um, no, not like, but really, I like Twitter's been really good just from like exposing you to different resources and different things to look up. And some of it you look into and you go, it's probably not a whole big deal. But once you start doing some thinking for yourself and really finding different you get exposed to more resources you never have been before. I guess that's the best way to say it. So not any one person, because I'm never going to be like one of those like fitness. I don't have the time to be like get in like for real shape. You know what I mean? Like I can't. Not trying to like make the team still. So I'm like I lift like an old guy. So
there you go. Well, Coach, so you're a Midwest guy. You played at Iowa. You coached at West Point for several years. Now you're at Central Michigan. All of those places, right? O-line, physical. How physical and disciplined is your Central Michigan team about to be?
Oh, I hope very. That's the very, as much as the physical universe will allow us to be, it would be my answer, I guess. So no, we're obviously talking about that a lot. Like I've been really, really lucky to not only be around really good head coaches and assistant coaches but I've never thought of a thing in my life. I just steal from people that do it better than me. I have no qualms and gray area about that. When somebody does something really good and I notice it, I just steal it as fast as I possibly can and figure out the smoothest way to integrate it into our processes and systems. So I've been around really good head coaches, really good assistant coaches, and a really good culture. And that's helped me a ton. And I think that all of those have shown you a way to have sustainable success. So to me, it's then you look at Central Michigan a little bit, but and I think you'll probably ask about that later. But yeah, really just there's a certain style of football that I am comfortable with, that I believe in, and then it tweaks to Central Michigan. Like there's a certain kind of recruit we're going to be able to get in this region, and a certain type of person that's going to want to live up here and play our style and our brand of football. So yeah, we plan on being very physical with everything that we do and very disciplined and play with a really, really hard effort. And the thing where I'm going to be a lot different, and West Point does a great job. I'm saying this only as like how an outsider perceives West Point, is that like the biggest hurdle West Point has, everybody thinks every second of every day is just like, sir, yes, sir. Like that's just how it is there all the time. Everyone thinks it's Saving Private Ryan and you're kind of storming the beaches to go to class. That's what people think it's like there every day. Those kids have a really good time and they're really structured. We like having the balance of how are we taking what West Point and Army football and Jeff Monken and Coach Ferentz and the Iowa Hawkeyes, all of that stuff, but balance it in a way where these kids who can leave anytime you want. That's what I do like about the transfer portal, is I think it's going to weed out a lot of coaches who think they can just demean kids and talk down to kids and operate as a authority only. I think it's going to be way harder for those guys to survive, which I like. I think that's good for the game and good for young people's development. So, but I really think that it's allowing you to balance. How can you be structured and disciplined, not to the point where you push any kids away, but where the kids truly understand, like, oh, I'm going through these hard things and this adversity because it's part of a growth process that's making me get better. And then I'm trying to present the program in a way that they understand that you're improving, and the stuff that these things are going to make you successful. Football happens to be a big part of your life now, so it's going to apply to that. But these same things carry over into your personal life, your academic life, your social life, your life as a professional employee, as a husband, a leader in your community. So that's really the process I'm going with that here, which I think has a lot of carryover.
Love it. Coach, when the job came, available in late November, What was it that stood out about Central Michigan that was, I got to go get this job. I want this job. What are some things about the program, about the university that makes it a great place to coach?
Yeah, a lot of stuff went into it. And I'll answer this question, not necessarily Central Michigan specific, but for anyone who's thinking about going through like the head coaching search process at some point. So like, I really, like when you want to be a head coach, like there's give and take with it. Like, so me having done this being my second run at it is a humongous help. I'm much more patient. I'm much more realistic about timelines and procedures. I see things at a much bigger picture as far as how some of the things that I want to do or policies that are in place, how they really operate, how the institution itself functions and other departments. So I have a much better working knowledge of all of those things going into this a second time. So and then the other part that I was really fortunate, I had an awesome job at an awesome place surrounded by incredible people. So when you're around that, like Jeff Munkin and Mike Vitti and Connor Hughes and Sean's attorney, like I talk about those guys a lot, but like I work, like Jeff Munkin is one of my other than my father, maybe my biggest influence in my entire life. So to watch him and to go through his job and to go through his process and all of the things he needed to be successful at a place that has an incredible amount of challenges. So how he was able to circumnavigate that and build, and not only handle that with the culture within the players, problems solve that with the staff, with recruiting, academics. It was like a master class, like 50 master classes on that. And then I worked alongside with Mike Vitti as well, he's the best leader anyone will ever be around in their entire lives, period. Like, it is a tragedy he is not a college football head coach right now, with all due respect to everybody else. Like, he is, when he does that, whatever program he takes over, he will destroy everything in his path on and off the field. He's that good. But you see how those guys function with everything and that you need at West Point, right? So I went through a checklist of, I think there are 5 or 6 major pillars an institution has to have long-term sustained success, which is really what I was looking for. My last jobs were 5 years there, 5 years there, 6 years there. My wife and I are looking for a place that we can really like build it and do it right. And when you leave, you left it better than how it was. So that was really important. Not like a go try to win some games and leverage it to go move on somewhere else. So that's really what my wife and I were, that was really important to us at this point in time in our lives. And that's different for everybody, like that, like what you value as a head coach. But to me, this place checked every box where it's like, okay, start from the get-go. Where is it located? Okay, it's got an unbelievable tradition. It's got a great regional recruiting base with the state of Michigan and all of the football that's played within about a 5-hour radius of campus. I'm very familiar with the area and the high quality of football and the quality of the people. So I thought regionally it was really good. You look at the facilities with Kelly Short Stadium, all of the internal facilities with our football facility, the building, everything that's done there. Top notch, brand new, like, okay, nobody can, that's not going to be a hurdle for us. And then you move to like the campus and the community of, it's 20,000 students. It's been as high as I think 26,000 students. It's a major institution. We're perfect location where we're away from school, like away from, you're kind of like an hour drive to everything. So you're away, but you're close enough to where you have everything. And we're a perfect college sized town where you're a humongous deal to your community. And then once I started looking into it, and you figure out like there's 246,000 alumni from this institution living right now on the planet Earth, which is astronomical.
Yeah.
And then the other really unique piece for me is we're one of 3 schools. And to me, this is what I took away from West Point really is like West Point, when you coach there, one of the unwritten, I guess, really great things about it is everything you're doing is something is bigger it's bigger than yourself. It's for something bigger than yourself because you're really representing the United States, like the United States military. we are one of 3 schools that has the honor and distinction to represent a Native American tribe. So it's us, Florida State, and Utah. So we are tied to the Chippewa people, which this number might not be right, but it's right around 215,000 left on Earth. So we have an enormous responsibility to tell that story and to represent that incredibly proud group of people in a certain way. So I thought there was a lot of parallels to kind of some things that not only my background with where I'm from, but like so then to me, like, okay, this place checked every box. Like, okay, I think it has everything you need to do well. And then I aligned with the institution and the program from a fit standpoint. Like, it isn't a rebuilding situation. Coach Mack and his staff did a great job. So that was like incredibly appealing to me. I'm from the Midwest. It's in the Midwest. I grew up watching Maction and Dan Lefevre and Jordan Lynch at Northern Illinois. And Chester Taylor at Toledo. Like, I loved that. Like, that was a huge part of my deal. And we'd play with the NCAA games and play with all those teams and build dynasties and like all of, and then you meet the leadership. So it was a brand new president, which, like, there's some of that stuff, like you wait to become a head coach and you always think like, oh, these are the plays I'm going to run. I'm going to hire these guys and this is what I'm going to make the uniforms look like. But there's a million other things that really impact your success far more than that stuff. That really becomes ancillary. So I was really excited that we had a really young, energetic, brand new president who's everywhere he's gone, he's had success and grown it. And then the athletic director is Amy Folan, who is one of the toughest, smartest people in college athletics. I mean, she's one of 12 female athletic directors. So an opportunity, like, think of the battles and adversity she has fought in her entire career to get to where she's at and all the success she's done at Texas of all places. Like, so to get a chance to be mentored by those people and to work alongside that, like, to me, it was, okay, this isn't one you like, boy, I hope. This is, you stomp the gas and do everything you can because it's such a great opportunity. So I know that was a long-winded answer, but that's really the entire thought process of everything that went into wanting to go get this and why and what my assessment was. Because I turned down 4 or 5 other head job opportunities in the last couple of years because they didn't check all those boxes. So like I said, I was able to do that because I was at a good place like West Point. If I was leaving Kansas Wesleyan like I was before, I probably would have taken all of them. So it's different time for every person,
Coach, you're obviously a guy that players are going to love you. They're going to buy in so quick and be ready to run through a wall for you. But you mentioned the alumni and the Chippewas and that community. How do you get them excited and butts in seats week 1 this year?
That's a good question. The schedule we do start with, I did ask when I did get hired, we are at San Jose State, at Pitt, at Michigan to start. And I was like, what's the matter? The 49ers were busy. You couldn't get them on the schedule while you're at it. So it's an awesome opportunity and challenge for us. But yeah, I really do think my job right now, I think the most important thing I can do in my job is I think I knocked it out of the park with my hires. I think they're if you look at a lot of it, I did a couple things strategically where I hired guys that this is probably either the highest level they've ever coached or this is the highest title they've ever carried. And I think that's really important to me because people are really excited to build something. Like, when you give away a lot of ownership, people will take that and run with it. So I've got really great people in our building right now that are going to be great with our kids. And I do think the most important thing I can do right now is getting all of Central Michigan University and Chippewa Nation together to remind them why they love this place. So I think, like, we have so many people that are in the community of Mount Pleasant, in the state of Michigan, in the region of the Midwest. You go down to Chicago and Cleveland and Toledo, they're everywhere. Every school, we went into 80 some schools last week in Detroit or in the state of Michigan. Every school I walked into, everybody's yelling, fire up chips, fire up chips. I mean, students, teachers, it's unbelievable. But then we've got guys in the NFL, all of our alums, donors, fans, our students, our faculty, and everybody's kind of, I think, looking for a reason to grab a hold of the rope and, like, get pulled back in. And I really think like my job is to go out there and explain to them how we're going to build it. That whether I get it, dude, like we don't win enough games, they will fire me. I will be held accountable for not winning enough games. Whatever, life will go on. Like someone else will probably hire me as an O-line or tight end coach after that. So I don't have to worry about that. I can build the program that if we lose games, the rest of the program should make everyone else so proud and such a rewarding experience that everyone wants to go be a part of it. Because I've been explaining to our players, the product that we create for people to consume, yes, there's some football games, but it's like when you're standing in line at the grocery store or you're in class or you're at church helping people, find a seat, whatever it is. Like everything that you do that other people see, hear, feel, or experience, that is our product that our football team is producing. So it's really important to me to get that message out that that's how we're going to do it. And I get it. A lot of coaches are all going to say that stuff. So there's a lot of time that goes into building those true relationships where you're not asking for something in return right away. Just saying, hey, listen, this is going to be awesome. It's going to be a great experience. Our kids are working their butt off doing it right. Come see if this is for you. Come see it. And we've got some branding stuff that we're going to release in the next couple weeks. I think it's going to be right on the pulse of what this place and everybody's looking for. And I don't think anyone else in college football is doing it right now. So when it comes, you guys will see it and notice it and it's going to be awesome.
Wow.
So
what a tease.
Yeah, right.
Jeez.
Can't wait for that. Can't wait to check that out.
It'll remind you guys of how it used to be. I'll just say that.
Love it.
All right.
A little blast from the past. I'm all about it. Well, Coach, during your time at Kansas Wesleyan, obviously, broke a ton of records there, especially with that offense, kind of up-tempo style spread. And then you go to West Point and you work, with the offensive line, triple option. What can we expect from this Chippewa offense this season?
Yeah, I get asked that a lot. So the first thing I did was talk the quarterbacks and receivers off the ledge when I first got hired. Because, damn, dude, you hear O-line from Army coming your way. If you're a quarterback, you get your phone out and hit the portal pretty quick usually. So, yeah, we had to talk those guys off the ledge. But no, like listen, like there's a couple things to it. Like when I first got to Army, it was very much like old school flex bone under center option. And then they changed some rules that forced Coach Munkin to really tweak what we were doing and made some coordinator changes. And we really evolved into a power run offense that was really presented as an option offense. And is like there, we were trying to read a lot of people, but we ran a ton of inside zone, outside zone, power, counter tray, threw the ball from every kind of launch point you can. So it really became a pro style system for the box players. So what we're going to be up front on offense is a power spread offense. So I hired Jim Chapin from Eastern Washington University. And then Hayden Mace, his offensive line coach, came with him, who's tremendous. And then Derek Fulton's going to be our co-offensive coordinator, who is at Grandview. So we will look a lot like if you watch Kansas State and Boise State and North Dakota State, Coastal Carolina the last couple of years. So you'll see always for sure at least one tight end in the game, probably a fullback or a second tight end, some combination of it, a running quarterback and a tailback and three wide. And so it'll look like a spread shotgun pistol, heavy power run game with play actions, not very dissimilar from Detroit and San Francisco in the NFL, to be honest with you. About 85% or so pistol and gun, a teeny bit of under center package.
Coach, how much time are you going to spend or force yourself not to spend with the O-line during individual periods and things like that?
Damn, that's a great question too. So like we've had that because that's a hard thing to navigate because like at the same, like it's always been so weird to me that when you essentially work your whole career and to become like a position coach or coordinator. And then if you get a head coaching job, they're hiring you're basically like, I'm a good football coach. And then they hire you to do a completely different job. So like, that's always struck me as very strange. You know what I mean? Like, so the answer to that question is like, I had a great meeting with our offensive staff, and I said, listen, we have a hard thing to talk about. There's going to be times where I just sit in the room and I make a suggestion as a guy, and I'm just trying to say like, hey, I'm just one of the guys making a suggestion. But I have to realize at the same time, you guys will hear that suggestion as the boss is saying we should do this. And I'm saying we have to navigate that. That's going to be very difficult. And the other time is I'm not the O-line coach. But the only reason I got this job is because I'm good at coaching the offensive line. So like how do we do that? So I think one of the things I'm going to do is because at the same time, like I this happened probably like my first week working here is Coach Chapin was like, hey, can you get me your non-negotiables for the offense? Like, what are hey, I was like, oh, what a great, absolutely, dude. I'll hop on the old computer and get you that list here. And I was like, hit number 1, number 2. I got to like bullet 36 and I stopped and I looked at the list and I was like, if I was an offensive coordinator and a head coach ever gave me this list, I would either quit or shoot that guy. And I X'd out and didn't save anything. And I said, here's my non-negotiable. I'm not babysitting the offense. You know what I want it to look like. We've had these talks. Go do it. So it's a very fine balance. I think some of the ways I'm going to do it is have a lot of open communication with the offensive line coach and the offensive staff of like what is appropriate for me to be involved with without overstepping my bounds to where I'm micromanaging. And I think one way I can do it is try to get behind closed doors, the staff a little bit more aligned with some of the verbiage and terminology that I use. So we're all kind of coaching it a little bit more like a way in a similar way that I would with it still being their own style, obviously. And the second piece is I think I can do some blocking mechanic work with the entire offense. So that like in a team meeting setting, so that way if I need to cater the message maybe a little bit more specific to the O-line, I can without the O-line or a specific position coach thinking I have overstepped and now I'm coaching your position. So I think there's going to be some tricky ways to do it. And because I told them, I'm like, it's going to be hard. You know what I mean? If I'm standing there as a head coach during the middle of practice, I can tell you what part of the field I'm going to start walking towards the most. And I got to catch myself from doing that. So that's some of the stuff I have to. But if I played linebacker here, I wouldn't want the head coach camping out down there thinking that's the only thing he gives a shit about either. So I'll put reminders probably in my phone to like move to different areas of the field on practice. Yeah. But I have to be involved with it some, I think. Absolutely. I mean, that's the shit. What I like doing. It's what I'm good at, I think. So we'll see. I'll try not to screw it up, but yeah, it's absolutely difficult to navigate because I want to be respectful of the staff and let them do their job and coach. And so.
Well, Jeff, we got time for what, like 2 Twitter questions, or
we got a couple Twitter questions. By far, honestly, one of the most popular coaching candidates.
Oh yeah,
I mean, we had a ton.
Oh man.
So we'll knock out a couple, and I'm going to start with this first one. I think this tells a lot about a person's character. By the way, this is from Tony Schiffman. Wants to know,
yeah, Tony,
favorite WWE wrestler of all time and least favorite tag team duo.
Oof. Oh man,
it's a hard question. Favorite singles.
Is it pro wrestler? Did he specify WCW or WWE?
WWE. So we'll stick with that
WWE. Man. I mean, most favorite, if you're going back to like old school WWF, like to me, it's the Ultimate Warrior.
Oh,
what an absolute showman.
Absolutely.
Jeff loves that.
And an enigmatic, like nuanced, what is he? I didn't know his name. Like he had just absolutely electric hair and his look was super unique and the face paint like would wear off or sometimes he'd just kick your ass right away and he got out of there pristine. One of the all-time entrances. And the merchandise alone. I mean, people are still painting their face like Ultimate Warrior. So it's got to be him. He was so impactful. I mean, God, just incredible. So least favorite tag team. I hated the Bushwhackers for some reason. They just drove me nuts. When I was a little kid, their walk, I didn't get it. It's like, And get these bums out of here. Give me some people that are like give me.
That's
So
right.
they were really, really good at what they did. I
great.
also didn't like the Steiner brothers whatsoever.
Yeah,
Which I
never a
know
big fan of
will
them
not
either.
go over well up in here because they're all Michigan guys, I believe. But those guys, they were great heels. And then when they went WCW and he became like Big Papa Pump and all
Yeah.
that stuff, that was pretty awesome too.
Yeah, that was. I like the
one of
Papa
the-
Pump days better than his tag team days for sure.
Yes. One of the greatest experiences of my life was I got one of my really good buddies from high school named Alex Briberesco, who is now one of the best surgeons in America. He went to Yale for his undergrad and then Penn for medical school. So he lives in Cleveland. He's like savant level smart, but he got us second row seats when he was a junior in high school and I was a sophomore in high school for WCW. And we were on TV the whole time for
That's awesome.
Nitro. And it was like I got to see Diamond Dallas Page, who was top, like a Mount Rushmore favorite wrestler of mine of all time.
doubt.
So that was really, really fun. That was one of the greatest experiences. And then I went here in 2019 when I was at West Point. Brent Davis, the offensive coordinator, and I went to WrestleMania. Saw like Kurt Angle's
Nice.
retirement. I think Triple H was there. Hulk Hogan came out. I mean, it was awesome.
That's incredible.
What year did we go to Mania? Like 2013, 2014? In San Francisco,
yeah,
we went.
Went back to my hometown, the East Bay, and went. Yeah,
That was a great
I think it was
time.
20.
That'd have been a good time.
It was at Levi Stadium. It was when they shortly after they opened. I can't remember what year that was. Forever ago.
Yeah, I
it
think
feels
what
like.
and who I don't even remember who headlined it. Roman Reigns, I'm sure.
Yeah, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Brock. I think it was
And
a
Brock
triple
Lesnar,
threat.
yeah.
If I can't remember. If I
Dude,
remember right.
when I was in high school, we did not watch Monday Night Football. We watched Raw and
Raw.
No
Nitro.
doubt.
100%.
It was just electric. I mean, and then you went to school the next day and that's all you talked about. And then you got to remember, this is 98.
Yeah.
So like that's when like the internet was like cool and fun still and like harmless. You'd like get on a chat room and be like, what do you guys think about the wrestling last night? People just be nice to you. It was insane.
It's great.
like that doesn't people. It was crazy.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, this was helpful. Oh, they're touring here. This is crazy. It was really fun.
Miss those days,
Dude.
man.
Yeah, like the first like dial up 1998 internet and people were like polite. It was crazy.
AOL Instant
Wild.
Messenger with all the random chat rooms you could just go in.
Yeah.
It got a little dicey at times. Anyways.
Jeez. What else we
those
got
are-
for him, Jeff?
Yeah, we'll get this last one and we'll get out of here. Nathan Daly wants to know. He says, "What will you miss about coaching at the Service Academy, and what are your thoughts on the future of G5 football?"
Ooh, okay. So these are great questions. So the academy is like I wasted my education on my youth. I did not understand. I tried to get through school when I was younger, and at West Point, you are exposed every day to one of the most unique environments known to man, where it's like the going to the school is so valuable because from the time those kids wake up until the time they go to sleep, they hear a unified strategic message in every part of their lives about like selflessness and hard and teamwork and perseverance and problem solving and like the greater good and finding a way. And yes, you can. Like they just hear that over and over again. So that world attracts a lot of people. So like heads of state, generals, Fortune 100 CEOs, the freaking people that work there. Like I said, I work with Mike Vitti there. He's the most incredible human being I've ever met. And I was in a meeting with that guy every single day, learning, getting like the best TED Talks on leadership and real life experience you've ever heard ever. I mean, so I will miss learning new things every hour of every day. Like I became obsessed. That place you can become obsessed with, and like being around Jeff Monken. Jeff Monken, I don't care what anyone says. Like if you swapped him out with any other head coach, like he's probably going to win more than that guy will, and that coach will have a harder time winning what he has done at West Point at that level. Like he's an unbelievable CEO, leader, human being. So like you're just in that environment all the time. So you're in that meeting room with Mike Vitti. You go to a staff meeting with Jeff Monken. You come out of it and like Elon Musk is on campus talking to the IT people and they're streaming it. And then you go out to practice and like Peyton Manning and Bill Clinton are there to film a show and talk to you. And that just like happened all the time. And it was the most unbelievable. You talk behind closed doors to like people that were commanders of Delta Force. And you're like, people play Call of Duty Black Ops to play the video game that those guys actually lived and commanded. And it's just, I'll miss that a lot. And then obviously like the people and the kids, like the kids are the best people on earth. The toughest, most resilient, like, thank God these guys are on our side's people. And they all come there as like, they're all regular guys. Everybody, like, I thought when I first got hired there, it was all these like 35 ACT brainiac, like universal soldier, like Ivan Drago from Rocky Four dudes. Like, and I was just like, I'm a moron, like, who plays Red Dead, dude. Like, well, how am I going to talk to these people? And they're all just regular people. They're just mentally different. Like they understand the long-term value of what they're investing in right now. And just like being around that, it forces you to be better. And that's incredible. The G5, the future of G5, I think the 80-20 split is going to happen in FBS football in the next 5 years. I think there's going to be some major media entity that is going to come in and say, like an Amazon or Disney or something like that's going to come in and say, here is some number that starts with a B, and here are the schools that we're going to let come play in it because you guys are going to invest in football at an unparalleled rate, and they're going to figure out a way for those guys to play the new form of Division One FBS semi-pro-ish level, because the antitrust NFL laws, if I'm not mistaken, you have to be 3 years removed from high school.
Mhm.
So that, I think, is held up in court several times. So I don't think that's going to change. So I think there's going to be some schools that 20% of the 134, I think they're going to make all agree, let's become a football heavy emphasis as an institution and join this conference or whatever that looks like. And everybody else, it's going to kind of settle and reshift and probably go back to similar to how it was to a degree. That would be, I have no idea if any of that is true. You guys just asked me my opinion.
Yeah.
I will, as the disclaimer, I am probably the least informed person hearing this right now. So take that for what it's worth. I think that's, I don't know. It certainly looks like that's what's going to happen.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. It seems to be that way. I mean, that's the way it's been trending for years.
I think places that get put in a tough spot are a lot of the Big Ten schools and places like the Northwestern, Stanfords, Vanderbilts, where it's like, yeah, football our conference affiliation and Division I football is great, but like those schools are like building AI and robots and satellites and you know what I mean? Like they're in a different academic stratosphere, or at least their board of trustees would like to be, would be my guess. That's probably a better way. I know kids in Nebraska are building all kinds of computer stuff and AI stuff right now. So I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts? What are you guys hearing?
I mean, that's what I've been saying. And at least that's what it seems like is you're going to have 15, 20-ish programs maybe that are going to split off. I mean, who really knows? The NCAA can't win a court case to save its life. So they're basically neutered at this point. So it's going to be interesting to see which direction it goes. Honestly, I don't think anybody has an idea.
I did a huge project in grad school on like revenue through Division I sports, and outside of a handful of Olympic sports, a lot of the revenue comes from football and men's and women's basketball, things like that. Maybe some volleyball or baseball, softball, depending on the institution or region. But what's scary is that if some of those schools at those institutions leave the NCAA, like from a revenue stream standpoint, it becomes, I just want to make sure that they, like my wife played college volleyball. You want to see the people that play Olympic sports. Like I love football, obviously, but what if I was a field hockey player?
Yeah.
It would be nice if an institution that has all these billions of dollars endowments or hundreds of millions of dollars can support my my sport at your institution. So, Chip Kelly brought it up a long time ago. He said, Football should have just made their own conferences and left the conferences the same. Because I still don't logistically like when I was at Iowa, I grew up in Iowa. It was cool, like when the Iowa had the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year in 1997, a guy named Tavian Banks. I think he might still have the record for fastest back to over 1,000 yards in a season in college football history. Guy was unreal. He went to my high school. So when he was playing, I was in 8th grade, 9th grade, and he was unbelievable. And you know what was awesome back then? If you saved up your money, you'd watch Iowa play at home. And then you drive 2 hours and watch them play in Camp Randall against Wisconsin. And then you drive 2 hours and watch them play in Champaign. You drive 2 hours and watch them play in Northwestern. Then you got your long drive 4.5 hours all the way up to Minnesota and watch them play. And then you bop over 2 hours to Iowa State. Now, what does a fan or your parents of players do?
Yeah.
They're flying like Northern Illinois just left the MAC. We're going to go try to recruit Chicago as hard as we can because Northern Illinois, the average distance for their away games now is 1,572 miles. They do not have an away game closer than 980 miles. So I'm going to tell every parent in Chicago, you can send your kids to Northern Illinois and go fly to Colorado and Nevada and California and New Mexico and just do that for 4 or 5 straight years, or you can drive 4 hours to our campus and drive 2 hours and watch the rest of our games.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like how football used to be. So to me, like no disrespect to Northern Illinois, we're going to go try to own Chicago.
Makes sense.
I think Northern Illinois, I get it. They're smarter presidents and have economics degrees. I'm a dumb football coach. I get it. But like, they're obviously doing that to get some kind of TV revenue, but I don't know. That's great for the school on paper and in theory. But that you still got to get good players that want to go do that. You're getting home from New Mexico at 6 a.m. and you're doing that every week. Ugh.
I agree.
Have fun. I'm going to recruit against that.
No question.
I hear that. Well,
So,
Coach,
no,
we thank you, man. This was awesome. We got to do it again because I think we could go
Anytime.
another hour.
and thank you guys for what you do. It's critically important because it is exposure to awesome football and awesome kids, and you see it every year. Like the whole deal. I'm just here to tell everybody the whole deal of like the diamond in the rough and all that with recruits, that is almost gone now. The really good players are found, and they're found everywhere. And so when there are games on and you're watching anybody play that can offer scholarships, like the football is getting better and better and better because now more kids are wanting to play and less kids are wanting to wait. So I'm telling you, the quality of the Group of 5 product, I just lived through it at Army. Now I'm getting to do it at a different conference. It is awesome, and it's really exciting, and it's really fun. And our league with Maction, dude, like, what's better than that? Like, great exposure for everybody late in the year, middle of the week. Like, I grew up, like I said, I grew up watching Lefevre and Jordan Lynch and those guys. Like, Maction's a huge part of what I grew up doing and gave me exposure to these schools and players and programs. And it's going to be really, really fun for the whole league.
Amen.
Love it. Can't thank you enough, Coach.
Thank you guys. Appreciate you.
Jeff, you know what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it. And I want to preface this by saying, I know I say this about everybody we have on this show, but this one felt a little different. I would love to play for that guy.
100%. And we do fall into this trap of we have a coach on.
Yeah.
And I mean, we just kind of, they're infectious, man. The energy is infectious. But I mean, the ones that really it does happen to us, they've all ended up being really good coaches. So I don't want to put any bad juju, on him and his journey. But man, he says all the right things, and he's got a great plan. And he talked about, his experiences at Army, playing at Iowa, all the coaches that he's been around. And I mean, those are some top tier coaches, right? So,
yeah,
I mean, being able to pick, and he wasn't bashful about it. He said, I steal everything. Anything I like that works or that makes sense, like I steal it and I implement it right away. So, I mean, that's what you got to do, right? But I think the kids are going to be fired up to play for him. I think he's going to be able to build a program there. He seems to understand the type of student athlete that
Mhm.
that Central Michigan can recruit and go get. I'm excited to see it, man. Physical.
Well,
Gonna be
and
physical.
that's, I mean, you got to think, and I tried to pry it out of him a little bit. The guy played at Iowa. Okay, if you're a novice fan and you want offensive linemen, tight ends, right? Iowa. Okay, he's from the Midwest, so that's. I mean, that's what the recipe back in the day for a good program, right? Was like skill guys. You can go get them from South Florida, California, South Florida skill guys. O lineman from the Midwest, quarterback from California. That used to be the recipe. It's all over the place now, but the O lineman from the Midwest scenario is still very much in play. So you got a Midwest guy that played at Iowa, okay, going back to the Midwest. Then he coached offensive line at West Point. So, I mean, if you're thinking physicality and you're thinking offensive line, I mean, buddy, Midwest, Iowa, West Point, Central Michigan is O-line U. When we did our show a year or two ago, I mean, you had Eric Fisher go number 1 overall. You had Luke Gadecki. You had Bernard Raymond a couple years back. I mean, this is a team that churns draft pick NFL offensive linemen, and now you bring in this guy with this background. Buddy, if you're a lineman, I'm just going to make the pitch right now. If you're a high school lineman or you're a lineman in the portal, I got a place for you.
Yeah, you want to go and learn how to really run block, have a 1,000-yard rusher behind you. That's I mean that's what the NFL that's what they want to see. Big offensive linemen that can move the line of scrimmage, right? And I think they're going to be able to do it. And he's an interesting cat now. I mean, we talked off air before we got on about all the health
and
stuff.
After.
Yeah, and after. I mean, all the health stuff he's been on, and I mean, I downloaded that Yuka app. I mean, I've damn near thrown away everything in my entire house.
I've already been to the grocery store with it. I'm the idiot now. Every aisle, buddy. I'm picking things up. I'm scanning, and then what I do, and then it gives you what they recommend instead. So then I'm looking for stuff. It's eye opening because there's a lot of stuff that you thought, or I thought, was like, oh, it's organic, or it's this, or it's that, or it's gluten-free, or it's non-GMO, and then you scan it and it's got all these additives in it anyway. And then there's stuff that you might think is bad because of its, sugar content or fat content, but it's all natural ingredients and not any of the fake stuff. So it scans high on there. But the cosmetics and the soaps and the deodorants, that's, to me, the food. I think you could, if you're diligent enough to just look at the label, you can kind of do that on your own. But the other stuff, your soap, your shampoo, your deodorant, any lotions you have, the wife's buddy, the wife's got, we have one of those vanities, it's like a dresser of itself with makeup and stuff in it. I mean, we're going to go down to one drawer, I think, by the time we're done with it.
Yeah, I don't know what the old ball and chains won't give up on the makeup side of things, but really? We've gotten rid of a lot of the soaps, shampoos, so
yeah,
it's interesting. And then by far one of the, we always take Twitter questions, social media questions. I mean, he had by far the most people, I think, put in questions. So he's obviously active on social media. A lot of the West Point, people love him. Can't wait to see what he does in Central Michigan. I'm excited. We got to get up there. I mean, it seems like each year we've made a connection at a different MAC school, whether it's a coach or an AD. Pleasant might be the next stop.
The most interesting part of the conversation for me, Jeff, was when, I asked him, or one of us asked him about getting the community and the fans, butts and seats and stuff like that. And of course, he brought up all the alumni and the local community, but then he brought up the Chippewa people. And it's very interesting because what went straight to my mind was, you look at some of these schools that have like a big religious following, right? BYU. If you're a Mormon and you live across the country, you're still rooting for BYU. The Catholics still rooting for Notre Dame. Liberty kind of has this presence now with the, not necessarily the Catholic community, but the Christian community. So is there the opportunity for the Chippewa people to get behind this program? And again, look, I think if you make it a case, if you make that a priority, and then, like he said, you go win some games, I don't know, man. It's exciting. It's an exciting time.
It is. And let me tell you, he seems to understand the MAC and that area. I mean, he went into it a little bit about NIU going to the Mountain West.
He did.
And he is going to recruit the heck out of Chicago. So we'll see. I can't wait to see if he can pull some kids.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely made the best. A lot of it like seems obvious, but nobody ever says it. The stuff about why this realignment stuff is kind of been a mess, and the way you can recruit against it is that. And he made that case, and then for the parents that want to just be able to go to the away games. And it also, that goes back to too what we were talking about a couple weeks ago with how expensive it is to be a fan or a parent of a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this realignment has had a huge effect on that.
No question.
And so, so far the MAC is still relatively intact and regional. So we shall see, man, but we can't thank them enough for coming on. Well, that's all we got for you guys tonight. Stay tuned. We'll have plenty more. Check out our interview from last week with Tulsa head coach Trey Lamb. We're going to be on for now, Monday evening with a live show. So stay tuned every week. Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be live, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook, Twitter, all the above. Make sure you hit the follow button on all the socials. Tell your family and friends all about us. We're out of here.